I'm here with Brian from C4 just to talk a little bit about the convention and some of the stuff that's upcoming. Brian, welcome to our show.
Absolutely, welcome. Thanks for having me. So for folks who don't know, my name is Brian Mitchell. I'm the Director of Public Relations at Central Canada Comic Con. Many of you who've been there before have probably seen me when you've been standing in line going, hey guys, don't worry, you'll get in soon.
How many people do you actually have running this thing?
A couple hundred volunteers or more.
That's crazy. And in the management level, like, there's probably a pretty big group of you too, right?
There's a couple of dozen folks that are involved in differing levels just to help get the entire show going.
What do you guys figure for attendance this year so far? How's it looking?
This year, I'm going to ballpark 40,000 people over the 3 days, over Friday, Saturday, Sunday is really our number.
That's crazy. So you guys have always had policies in place to protect people that are going to the con. Specifically, you've had anti-harassment policy for like a fairly long time now, right?
Absolutely. So something to be clear is that Central Canada Comic Con, it's a show for families. It's a show for everyone. So it's something where you can bring your daughter. You as an adult can go. It's open to anyone who wants to come out and celebrate pop culture. It's not just about comic books. It's not just about Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever celebrity. It's about all things. So whether you like Doctor Who, you like wargaming miniatures, you like computer games, you like something, there is actually something for everybody. So that's, sometimes in years past, it's been as simple as going to somebody who's wearing a little bit of a risque costume going, I appreciate the work that you put into that, but we're going to need you to cover up a little bit because this is a family show.
Right, yeah.
This really isn't an appropriate costume.
And that's pretty much in line like with a lot of other cons too, because there's lots of groups that have like certain set guidelines for what's allowed at costumes and stuff. And it's not just about the adult versus family thing, but it's also about things like weapons and kind of the different accessories, right? And
absolutely.
Things like that. So for this year, we saw a post on Facebook a while back about talking about maybe branding that anti-harassment / respectful conduct portion of the policy as cosplay is not consent.
Right.
Is this something that is going ahead this year for sure? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That cosplay is not consent is something that has been within our culture already. And we've seen some other shows like the New York Comic Con doing a really fantastic job of branding it. And so we've looked at it as a best practice where here's a show that's doing it really well. We want to be a show or a convention that is a leader in the pack, that sets high standards, that our attendees can feel safe, comfortable, and so that's why we're ensuring that we're branding this, because other people who've been to these cons have said to us, hey, you see what they're doing, this is a really good idea, we like this, we'd like to see you do it at C4, and we're like, this already falls in line with everything that we're doing.
Right.
Why not do that additional branding? And some people look at go, well, what is harassment? What is cosplay is not consent? Here's a really crazy simplistic thing to think about. Some of these costumers spend hundreds of hours building their costume. There's some costumes that I know some people have worked on for 2 to 3 years to get them to the point where they're finally ready to roll them out. And sometimes the person, it's a very elaborate costume. So for them to show off the costume in piece, there may be a character piece where they have to pose a certain way, or they have to wear a whole bunch of stuff. And sometimes those costumes can get really hot. And so you'll get somebody who will be in a partial costume because they're taking a 5-minute breather, right?
Right, yeah.
They've been walking around it all day. They might be grabbing a bite to eat or something like that, and a fan will come up and go, oh, snap a picture. And meanwhile, they've got, a submarine sandwich hanging halfway out their mouth.
Yeah.
And so you're really getting more of like the pastrami hanging off the sandwich than you are of the costume. And so in that case, really, cosplay is not consent means before you take somebody's photo, ask for their permission to take their photo.
Right.
Is it okay? And because really in some cases, that person needs to pose. They need to strike that thing to show off their costume in that appropriate way. Sometimes that might mean that, you know what, yeah, it's okay, you can stand next to them and you can, have your photo like this, but some people are, no, I don't want anybody else in the photo with me because that's not appropriate to my character.
Right.
And so that's really where some of the cosplay is not consent boils down to. And some of that harassing can be, well, I know you're eating a sandwich, but I want to take your photo now.
Yeah, exactly. they've been doing all kinds of renovations to the convention center. Are we able to use any of that space this year, or is it not ready yet?
Sadly, we're not going to be able to have that space until 2016.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think the first show in Winnipeg that's really going to get a chance to use the fully renovated convention center with the entire new third floor is going to be the World of Wheels coming up in April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be like the first group that
We're-
actually used to put it through spaces.
Exactly.
Nice. But that'd be really exciting though. I mean, if you could increase the amount of capacity that is there, that would be really amazing.
Well, and so this leads to an interesting piece about the convention itself. Well, people are like, why don't you bring in this guest? Why don't you bring in that guest?
Mm-hmm.
And when you've been there in past, do you remember the headliner that year? Like
Patrick Stewart actually was the head guest there. And that was amazing.
Right, so you were there for that, and you saw just how full it got with somebody of Patrick Stewart's renown. If we're to go bigger than that, we need more capacity in the hall to be able to hold more people, and so that's one of the things that's been holding us back for guests for the last few years. And not to say, we love our guests, like our lineup this year with Sylvester McCoy, Gary Busey, you know what, getting to see James Marsters from Buffy and
that's
Hollywood,
huge,
and getting to see him come back because he's a fan favorite, and just all of our other really great guests. While these are great guests, there's a step above that we know that we can do, but we can't do with the current size of the convention center, because really the convention center can't move that many people.
Oh yeah, Patrick Stewart, when he was there, it was madness, because the lineup to actually just talk with him and get autographs and stuff snaked all the way through the vendor area. Like it was huge, the amount of people that were there, and rightfully so. I mean, it's like, you know, a chance to meet him and then during the talk too was the same thing. Like the hall that the talk was held in was like standing room only, which is amazing. But we talk about cosplay a little bit on the show, just because Rob, who's not here, sucker, huge fan of Face Off, and he has a really great respect, and he's actually going to be at the con this year just to watch the costume part of it or whatever. And I don't know if he's actually interested in that much else at the con, but we started talking about it, and I mentioned that my daughter and I this year we're actually going to be cosplaying at the con as well. And we started talking about, well, how would that look? You know, like in a situation where we're actually going to be out there and in costume, kind of like what would we have to worry about? And that's when we started thinking about, well, okay, well, there's all these different things that have happened at different cons, and then we started looking at C4 and we're like, oh, these guys are actually like really progressive compared to like even bigger cons. Like we looked at the San Diego stuff; they only had it like last year, where they were actually taking it seriously with regards to harassment and conduct of attendees. For things like cosplay and stuff like that. So
out of respect to San Diego, because really they are the forerunner of all things convention. All of the conventions generally do take this seriously. There's been an explosion in conventions and things pop culture in the last 5 years. Just the growth of it has been tremendous, not just here in Winnipeg, but really worldwide. And it's become a phenomenon where I've had folks who have never been to Comic-Con here in Winnipeg who've come up to me and said, yeah, I really need to go to San Diego Comic-Con because, wow, it's the mecca of. And it's really hit a point where, say, for San Diego, the movie companies have started eschewing doing red carpet premieres for having their celebrities show up and promote the films at Comic-Con. Yeah. Again, thank you for lauding us for being progressive in regards to it, but because there's been so many new people into convention culture, it's been really important that people understand that there is a culture here, there is a positive, there's an inclusive culture where everyone's welcome, and
that's huge. I mean, honestly, like I did mine in reverse order. I actually was in San Diego for the con in 2014, the same year that we went to Comic-Con here, and I found that the vibe in the Winnipeg version was actually way better than the vibe at San Diego, because with San Diego, there's a huge set of distinctions between the kinds of fans that are there, and if you're not a TV and a movie person, you're literally with the bottom 30% of what they care about there, because everything else that we were there, we went through every hall. We basically had the whole Sunday there as part of the group that I was with, and I got to meet like all kinds of comic artists, and I got to meet like all kinds of people that were like heroes of mine from growing up, and their tables were barren because there was a whole bunch of TV and movie stuff happening or whatever, and there was a lot of gaming stuff there too, which is pretty cool. But for me personally, I had the exact same experience here because I was able to come in and it wasn't, but there was no distraction from the movie and TV stuff here. Like it was integrated, but it wasn't like the all-encompassing thing. Like I found
Right.
the con here was like way more inclusive in the different interests that I had, and I actually had a lot of really great conversations with a lot of the artists here. And my daughter, who I'm cosplaying with at this year's con, is an artist, and she got to meet some of these artists and show her work off and get tips, and it was an amazing experience. So this year we're going back just to hope for the same kind of thing or whatever. But yeah, it's we're all going to be there. Rob Clayton and I are actually going to be in the con this year to check it out. But yeah,
I look forward to seeing you guys.
it's going to be awesome.
And if anybody is at the convention and they have a concern where they're like, I'm not feeling comfortable, somebody's bothering them, right now I'm wearing my shirt that I'll be wearing at Comic-Con. All of the Comic-Con organizers, all of the department heads have jerseys like this. And part of the reason why we do this is for visibility. It's to ensure that people can see us when they need to see us.
Right. So if people have issues or questions, they can come straight to a referee jersey person.
They can come to me. Also, all of our volunteers do tend to wear vests or smocks or something indicating that they are a volunteer. And we are placed throughout the convention at a number of the entrances as well as throughout the halls. So that way we're, again, accessible when our attendees meet us.
Which is amazing. Okay, cool. So yeah, you've heard it here. This is Mike signing out from talking with Brian from C4. Hope to see you guys at the convention.